And as president of the Northeast Agribusiness and Feed Alliance, it's my pleasure to chat with longtime friend and longtime Executive Director Rick Zimmerman about his illustrious career at the Northeast Agribusiness and Feed Alliance. He's done very well for us over the years, and there may be some transitions coming, which we'll talk about. Rick, why don't you start off and just give us a thumbnail sketch of how you came to be at Northeast Agribusiness and Feed Alliance and some of the things you did before that.
Well, thanks, John. For the past 35 years, it's been my professional passion to work with the agricultural industry and help it advance and be more successful overall in New York and throughout the Northeast. And so joining the Northeast Agribusiness and Feed Alliance back in 2007 was a natural opportunity to continue that personal mission and work directly with the agribusiness community, which is a key component of the agricultural industry overall. We serve production agriculture, we serve farmers, and so continuing the efforts on behalf of the agribusiness portion of the agricultural industry has been a real honor for me to be part of.
Great. Hey, as a farm boy, what really inspired your passion, or who helped inspire your passion to be an advocate for agriculture and, specifically the feed industry and others that you're a part of?
Well, it started back in 1982, I think it was. I participated in the Farm Bureau discussion meet and was a state winner in 1982. Went to Dallas, Texas for the American Farm Bureau annual meeting, saw Ronald Reagan up on stage, and actually was able to walk up to the edge of the stage with my camera to get a picture of him. That was long before this high security era. Anyway, I was so engrossed with the notion that through advocacy, through work in public policy, we could really make a difference. And so that's the spark that started it all, that started a career at New York Farm Bureau for 16 years, and then went on with the Department of Agriculture Markets in New York State. Has served as Deputy Commissioner under the Pataki administration, and then hung out my own shingle, if you will, for the last 15 years to work in a similar capacity, but be an entrepreneur at the same time.
Neat. So how do you look at this industry and look back over those 30 or 40 years, and how do you think it's changed from your perspective?
Well, the change has been huge, and it's so indicative of a world economy. I think that our focus as an industry is much more world focused, if I could use that word again, than what we've ever had before. As we are much more cognizant in the Northeast about the challenging role that we play and the challenges we face in remaining economically viable in this world economy. And so change has become a much more rapid requirement to remain economically viable. And operating in the Northeast, in contrast to other regions of the United States, brings its own set of challenges that our industry must continue to adapt to. So I'd say, in short, the rapid pace of change has been the most significant element that we've had to address overall for the last 35 years.
So change is ever present. It's just the rate of change that has changed.
That's correct. If you're not changing, then you're sliding backwards. But we've had to accelerate this rate of change. We've had to be much more nimble, much more aware of the forces, the factors that are coming at us in order to address those issues and be willing to adapt accordingly.
Has your role with Northeast Agribusiness and Feed Alliance changed up to this point?
Well, I would say that it's always been an opportunity for me to be part of the leadership team with the Northeast Agribusiness and Feed Alliance, and investing time and effort for leadership is is an important element that really hasn't changed, but it has grown in responsibility from my standpoint. I thoroughly enjoy the opportunity to work with the board of directors and you as currently as president. That is a very rewarding experience to see a team of people working together, all pulling in the same direction for a common cause, and being part of that, challenging it, looking forward and looking out, and bringing to you as leaders issues and opportunities to be addressed is what I really enjoy doing. And I would say that effort has grown and has become more successful during the time that I've worked with the Alliance.
Rick, you've obviously been involved with lots of different members, and just take a moment and talk about those feed manufacturers out there, what it means to be a member of Northeast Agribusiness and Feed Alliance, and kind of why they should be a member.
Well, the Alliance is, as you know, John, a trade association that encompasses feed manufacturers and other agribusiness companies that represent the sector of our agricultural economy that serve farmers. Feed manufacturers were the original organizers of this organization. We evolved from two separate organizations in the past, Eastern Federation of Feed Merchants and the New England Feed and Grain Association merged in 2004, I believe it was. They recognized the need to continue and yet expand their geographical platform to represent the entire Northeastern United States for good reason, because that's largely where our milk shed is focused on, if you will. That's where the cows are. The cows are the primary focus for feed manufacturers. So continuing that forward, the association has been a critical link to the rest of the agricultural community and to representing their interests before government, be it state or national government. So the trade association, the Northeast Agribusiness and Feed Alliance, has continued to grow to serve this agribusiness sector, particularly feed manufacturers. And it's absolutely critical to have their voice brought forward here in Albany. The background that I'm using today is the state capitol, other state capitals throughout the Northeast, and we will be meeting with these commissioners later this month via Zoom, and of course in Washington as well. So we're the local connection, if you will, the necessary element to make sure that their voice is heard throughout public policy.
Well, respectfully, I think it's so important to have that voice. You are absolutely right. But coupled with that, Rick, talk about how you and the team really keep track of legislation and potential legislation where the average person out there just isn't able to do that. I mean, we're on the ground doing our jobs, and you're out there. Your role is really to study legislation and potential, and just elaborate on that, if you would, please.
Well, that's exactly right. And it's like drinking out of a fire hose. There's so much coming at us all the time that we've got to be on our toes constantly to watch out for and to interpret the impact on the agricultural community, specifically the agribusiness community. And so that's a diligent effort that we undertake. In fact, that's an area that I forecast for further growth in and want to dedicate more of my time doing because of the demands that are there. So we're working hard at that front, and it's not something that our members who have day jobs, by the way, can keep up with on their own. So it's an important responsibility that we take on.
Rick, I believe that you really, if there was a seed of collaboration before you came to Northeast Agribusiness and Feed, you certainly fertilized that and made it grow. Talk a little bit about collaboration, because that seems to be a passion of yours.
Well, thanks. I'm always happy to talk about it because I really feel that collaboration brings strength. Collaboration is one of the pillars that we focused on at the Northeast Agribusiness and Feed Alliance, and we are serious about it because we know that by working together as a greater agricultural industry, our individual strengths grow as well. And I witness this constantly. We are able to address issues effectively, successfully, first and foremost by finding and working closely with all the stakeholders that are impacted by the issue. One of the strengths that I bring to this particular table is my background, having the experience of working across the agricultural sector over the years, and thus knowing them individually and knowing organizations, knowing how they work, knowing their cultures helps to foster a collaborative environment. And we demonstrate it, John, as you know. We reach out first and foremost to all to engage, not worrying about whether we're on first or who gets the credit, because in the end of the day, everyone gets the credit. The recognition is even stronger as a result of the collaborative relationships we build.
You've got a tremendous network of friends and associates you've built up over the years, and you keep adding to that, whether it's in New England or New York. Just a little sidelight about collaboration. Does that mean that we all agree on all the tenets of all the organizations that we're collaborating with, or can we have differences?
Always have differences, but it's difference with respect. It's understanding that we're all essentially pulling in the same direction, that we all want to continue to strengthen the agricultural industry. We want to make sure that our farmers remain profitable, and as a result, the entire agricultural economy can continue to thrive and grow. And so there's common ground there for sure. And there may be a little difference on how to get there. Tactics might be a little bit different, but at the end of the day, we're all working for the same cause.
Good. Let's talk a little bit more about Rick Zimmerman. What are the things that, as you look back at the time you've had so far with Northeast Agribusiness and Feed Alliance, that you're most pleased about?
Well, working with the members is always the most enjoyable aspect of working with a trade association, specifically the Northeast Agribusiness and Feed Alliance. And in that regard, working with the board of directors who have volunteered their time to be leaders on behalf of the agribusiness community. It's been a very rewarding experience for me to work with the board and see the growth in leadership and engagement of this group of individuals, again, who are volunteers, not paid for their time and effort, to come forth and work for the better good of the organization and the industry. That's extremely rewarding to see that play out. It's extremely rewarding to see the committee structure that we put together effectively work. This is not just a paper shuffle exercise as far as committees are concerned. They are very active and engaged. And when you see that produced, when you see the reports that the committee chairs bring to the board of directors meetings to talk about what they've been doing and what their recommendations are, I personally feel extremely rewarded for seeing that work get done in that type of manner.
Oh, that's great. You know, we don't have time today to go through all the standing committees, but two that really come to mind are agronomy and transportation. Agronomy being a newer one, and transportation being one we quote unquote resurrected. Just talk a little bit about those two committees and how they are important to Northeast Agribusiness and Feed Alliance.
Well, there are examples of committees that have started up because of the policy and technical needs that need to be addressed within our association. That is transportation issues with regard to bringing in inputs and delivering outputs or completed feed, processed feed to our customers requires a well-functioning transportation system. So there inherently are issues there that time of hours of service, for example, that tend to be a challenge, if not conflicting with our ability to do what we need to do. Agronomy is a reflection of new issues coming along that we feel that we need to take on. There is an increasingly important aspect of nutrient management that's being discussed through public policy that impact the feed industry. So nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, all elements of feed are also elements of discussion with regard to excess nutrients out on farms. And so there's a feed responsibility, there's a feed component, and the agronomy committee is taking that challenge on.
Yeah, that's a great answer. I think those two committees, to me, really represent some interesting stakeholders who may or may not be our traditional stakeholders, and you have to network both transportation, some unique folks who may or may not be members, and also agronomy. We really broaden the horizon. Talk just a little bit about the nuts and bolts of those two committees from that standpoint, if you can.
Well, as a trade association, we have a broad range of membership interests, and so when we put out a call for members for various committees, we get a broad range of reaction. And so we're very fortunate to be able to have a wide skill set of participants in these various committees. For example, on transportation, you have people representing the short line railroads, trucking companies, and feed mills, all that have common interest, but all coming at that issue from a different perspective entirely. And with regard to agronomy, we have agribusiness partners such as Bayer and Syngenta that have very specific interests in that context, but we also have Dairy One as a member as well, that's very focused in on comprehensive nutrient management plans on dairy farms, I should say. So they bring a diverse perspective into it. We also have crop input suppliers such as Carolina Eastern Crocker and Joe Agrella. I believe I think I butchered his last name. Sorry, Joe. Who is a participant in the agronomy committee as a certified crop consultant. And so that's just an example of the wide range of interests that come to that committee as well.
Yeah, they certainly are broad and wide and represent diverse interests and really bring together a lot in those committees, as you've said. Talk a little bit about strategic plan. I know it's been a passion of yours. Were you in on the original strategic plan for this organization, or how did you enter into that?
I did promote the strategic plan process and concept right from the get-go. We've done 2 of them already over the last 10 years, and we're primed to do another one. COVID has kind of interrupted it, but it's important that we get it done. That is, the plan does serve an important function here with the Alliance. We use it, we review it, we build off of it as providing the guiding light for the organization. Our mission is reviewed and enhanced if necessary, and then we build strategic goals off of that. So, for example, advocacy, collaboration, and education are the 3 pillars that we operate under or with. That came out of the second strategic plan that we did about 6 years ago. And from that, we've built programs and products to serve the industry, to serve the needs, various aspects of the needs under those various under those three pillars. We have educational programs that are well known throughout the industry for their excellence. Our advocacy work, we could talk all day about that, and the demands are growing. We intentionally position ourselves in the state capitals to be advocates, but we also are advocating for the agribusiness community in a broader range throughout the agricultural, greater agricultural community. And then collaboration, we talked about, can't get enough of that. And collaboration is from a global standpoint, as I mentioned before, essential for our success overall, but collaboration amongst members is a key element as well. And the association was originally formed for that member-to-member collaboration. COVID has gotten in the way on that again, and we hope that we can get back engaged sooner than later on that front too.
Great. Rick, we're going to talk a little bit about a transition in a few minutes here, but before we do that, give us a sense of your role, how you see your role in terms of being more a facilitator in the process of this organization, as well as your advocacy work.
Well, as executive director, I see my role as being the eyes and ears to a large degree of our organization and specifically our board of directors. And so the notion of facilitating the discussions, bringing the issues to the table, and setting the stage for the decision making is the role that I play. I will advise. I will, in that context, talk about where the third rail is, or how far you should go as far as consideration of various issues because of the various political or environmental or other factors that are in play. But inevitably, it is the board of directors' decision as leaders of the organization, and I respect that. But I really enjoy the notion of being the executive element of the board, and as a result, being able to seed the discussions, challenge the board, get the thinking and the resources for that thinking presented in a manner that allows the organization to make informed and good choices. And so that's the role I see. As far as moving forward, I'm going to continue the role as executive director for the near future, but judging by the color of my hair, that is probably going to change over time. And at the same time, I also see the demands for my advocacy work through government engagement is continuing to grow. And so those demands are increasing, if you will. And in full disclosure, I also work with other agricultural organizations and companies on the advocacy front, and that work continues to be quite demanding as well. So it's a full plate, and I enjoy it. I enjoy the many balls that are up in the air, but I've got to be wary that at some point we need to pull a few balls out of the air at some point in time. So we're exploring what the options are as far as glide path is concerned. In the short term, Sue Van Amburgh, who many you know throughout the Alliance, is taking on more executive assistance responsibilities, being a very effective leader, but more in the background and handling a lot of the day-to-day work that I was more engaged in previously. So that is part of the transition that's going on right now, but we're kind of feeling our way forward here as far as how to best manage it, and at the same time determining some sort of time frame that makes most sense for the Alliance and for myself.
So I presume you'll continue to communicate to the board and members kind of where you are at on that timeline with Sue and with your role at the organization.
Yeah, no question about it. Communication is key. As we figure it out, we'll definitely share that with everybody. And of course, we'll continue to work closely with the board of directors on that front.
Rick, I'd like to take us as we just a few more minutes here, take us on a little different course, if you will, and hopefully it'll be a little fun for you, and try and reminisce a little bit about some of the activities that we've done, some of the more fun things that we've done, whether it's at annual meetings or Golf for Good Works or Herd Health Conference or whatever it is. What are some of the kind of fun things that stand out to you as you look back?
Well, John, one of the things that jumps out most quickly for me is to see the enthusiasm and witness the enthusiasm and the activity of raising money for the Cornell Faculty Renewal Program. As you know, we seated 2 faculty positions at Cornell University in the Department of Animal Science. And that process was a fascinating process to be part of, but more importantly to witness, because what we actually did at one point, as you know, John, is we actually entertained a bit of a auction-like atmosphere to raise funds for this effort. We thought we would be successful if we raised $500,000. We did that so fast that we started toward the $1 million goal without a blink of the eye, and accomplished that as well. To see that happen, to see the fact that our industry is willing to step up and put money on the table, literally, for the betterment of the greater industry is a remarkable thing. And no other organization has ever done that since. So we've really set the stage. We've been a great example. And to be part of that was an exciting thing. We went to Florida for a couple of annual meetings, and that in itself, the planning process and to kind of expand our horizons from a standpoint of program and place as far as annual meeting is concerned was an exciting and enjoyable effort as well.
And Trent Luce being broadcasting live from our annual meeting several years ago.
Yes, he's a character. Not a whole lot of people hear him in the Northeast unless they tune into his podcast, but Trent is well known in the Midwest and far West as far as his agricultural commentary and topics, and he talks and walks the part. So bringing him into our annual meeting was a great compliment. John Block was a speaker a couple years ago for our annual meeting, former Secretary of Agriculture under the Reagan administration. And it was a real honor, a thrill to have him part of our annual meeting as well.
Yes. Jeff Simmons at Elanco when he came, that was another one.
Yep. We've had some great speakers. Our forum has been an excellent opportunity to not only take on and be challenged with some provocative topics, but to hear from some excellent speakers.
Yes, and when you speak of provocative, I believe members have let us know if we put somebody on the stage who they did not agree with.
Right. Well, we're not going to agree with everybody all the time, but that's actually a good thing. It gets you thinking further. It stretches your horizons, and that's part of what our attempt.
It also lets us know what's going on around us too. So we're not just
questions. Yeah.
Rick, talk a little bit about the Golf for Good Works. Put in a plug for it, a shameless plug, and just the genesis of that, where you've seen that go.
Now, that's been a very successful effort to raise funds, not just for the organization, but to raise funds for other organizations, for other activities and programs that are actually doing good works for the greater agricultural industry. So we take the proceeds from our golf tournament. We play at the Turning Stone each June, and we use those for making contributions to other programs and activities, such as the Northeast Intercollegiate Dairy Challenge, or FFA, or Junior Dairy Leaders, or the Holstein Club. John, you know the list better than I do, so I'll let you go down through them. But I will say that that's another example where the Alliance really puts its money where its mouth is. We're not just about running or raising funds for ourselves. In fact, I would say as an association, our fundraising is always focused on programs and activities for the betterment of the entire agricultural industry. And the Golf for Good Works program is just an element or a segment of that that really focuses in on investing into other programs that are really doing good works for our industry.
Since we're here, why don't you just mention about the annual meeting, what's going on there and why?
Well, like other, shall we say, all other organizations, were forced to shift our planning and activities around the COVID-19 pandemic. And so this next year is going to be a change for us. We're not going to be hosting our annual meeting in early February, as has been the tradition. We will be moving it to June, late June, and couple it with our Golf for Good Works tournament at the Turning Stone Resort in Oneida County. This will be the last week of June, and we're hopeful that that's going to give us the opportunity to once again get back together face to face and have the freedom and the opportunity to conduct a more normal meeting rather than doing it all via Zoom. So let's all work together to get this pandemic under control, and hope and pray that we will have vaccines and other pharmaceuticals that will get and help us address this pandemic, and then we can get a little bit back more normal in lifestyle. And we're looking forward to a June meeting, both a tournament and an annual meeting at that point.
Great. Rick, it's been a great deal of fun to just chat with you a little bit about your career at Northeast Agribusiness and Feed Alliance. As we wind up here, what other comments would you like to make?
Well, I would just say that we as an industry must continue to work together for the good of the cause, and that without an intentional collaborative effort, we're going to be divided and conquered. We in the Northeast are faced with some challenges that are greater and maybe more significant than other regions of the country, other regions of the world. Yet we have a very viable, economically viable agricultural industry here in the Northeast. But we must remain diligent and address the issues that are really challenging us together. We as an industry should not segment ourselves or look at the production sector versus the agribusiness sector as separate and distinct, and not interested in each other's welfare, if you will. That we're all together, and together we can stand and address the challenges. But if we're not together, then it's going to be much easier to see the industry continue, or if we're not together, we're going to see the industry decline. None of us want that. So I strongly encourage us to continue to collaborate and see the critical importance of doing that for our collective future.
Great. Rick, this has been a great deal of fun. You have been gracious to give us your time, and we appreciate you as Executive Director very much. And I know we're going to be hearing lots more from you and also about the transitions as things move forward. So thank you very much for being part of that. And for those of you watching our first webcast today, if you liked us, give us a thumbs up. If you didn't, let us know about that. We're certainly happy to hear about that. If you like this format, if you have other suggestions, we are here for you at Northeast Agribusiness and Feed Alliance. Thanks, and have a great day.